wines sit on the skins, and the white wine you don't put on the skins.
Hello, and you're listening to Let's Drone Out. Tonight we are joined by everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Hello.
My darling wife.
Buongiorno.
And the man with the moustache.
Hello.
And I'm Brighton till I fly. And the man with the moustache is Stephen, aka Belric. If you ever,
just bursting some rudimentary wine-making tips at the start of the show.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully the editor will cut that bit out.
He can't now. I've referenced it. It's going to throw all the continuity out.
Aha, I found the switch to turn the names back on. Hooray, now you know who we are.
Apparently last show someone had clicked the wrong button and knocked our branding out the window.
I just noticed they weren't there, and people might get confused.
Yeah, Lord help. Stephen, are you up for doing during lockdown? We done a AMA where people can ask anything. Are you up for doing a bonus pod AMA?
Yeah, if anyone's got any questions. I mean, I'm not shy about questions. If you've got questions, they're not obscene or personal, I'll answer them in the show. But if you want to do a bonus pod, whatever, man.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm going to put a Discord invite link into the chat. And if you want to, this will last for 7 days. And if you want to go there, there is a AMA questions text feed, and you can post some questions in there if you want to ask Stephen anything. If anything's caught your eye on his bench, like, what's that? Who's that? What's that for? You know, you can ask him. You can ask him about the lovely Elle who sorted our website out.
And a new member of our family. We've just got a little doggy.
Oh, nice.
Show us the dog. Where'd the dog?
The dog is very young, and this room is basically like some kind of Mad Max death trap for young dogs. There are wires everywhere, and they're not supposed to chew electrical cables, which basically means pretty much the entirety of this floor space is a big death trap for a young puppy. So not in here right now.
Yeah. What breed?
Miniature Schnauzer.
Hello, Cole.
Whiskery dog.
Are you still dying from the weekend, or was it the time zone? Are you just still a bit
yes,
like that?
Dom, that is a 5-string bass that one of these days I'll learn how to play properly. Mainly I just do occasional riffs to chill out, usually a bit of Ronnie size. I try and play the intro to Brown Paper Bag repeatedly until I feel zen and at one with the world.
Sacrilege. Bass have 4 strings, not 5.
If you have a 5th one, you can just the fingering's a lot easier for stuff. You don't need to do like weird fret work and zoom up and down the fretboard. You can just stay noodling in one place. Kind of easier.
Sorry that I'm late, guys. And yeah, I just kind of missed track of time, and sorry about that, but I'm here now. So
not only are you late, Cole, Jack was here early.
Whoa, what is happening?
No, I was probably
some
just
sort of parallel
the
universe.
Time. Surely.
I'm late.
What?
Jack's early. Tony's got a beard. What's happening?
What is happening?
More importantly,
what
about this
business?
Clive?
Clive, that was me. Yes, I was doing a little bit of trolling in the TBS couch today. It was fun.
So Clive FBV, for our audio listeners, is asking if Cole was in fact asking if Trappy and Wayne snuggle on the TBS couch, or if there's some sort of distance limit enforced between the two of them for business reasons.
Yeah. I asked, and I was replied with a very firm no. We don't do that.
We have to wait till the camera stops.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping to get a laugh out of it, but it was, it was not received very well, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
Not very sorry.
Sounds like maybe they duff protest a little too much, and you've hit a nerve.
Really. Well, it's probably got a bit of a sore nerve right now because it apparently has come to pass that someone's found traces in the TBS code base of a new ESP32 based receiver. And that basically means as soon as that's out the gate, some monkey is going to try and flash Express LRS to it and just sort of, it's going to be a big joke. It's just going to be a memeable from here until Kingdom Come.
Yeah, I tuned in this morning on it, and I guess someone asked, so Trappy, what's better, LRS or Tracer? And I mean, that's a great question to ask him, I think.
Handshake or a poke in the eye?
yeah, that was funny, but
yeah. But Tracer is an Lura. You don't know what you want. You don't know none of you. You make.
I think you can do. They did. They did a LoRa mode on Tracer, but it was 50 hertz, I think. So it's a bit odd.
Have you speaking of Lura, have you seen the TBS Immersion RC have released a
1000 hertz.
Is this the Ghost?
Well, 1400.
1400. Oh, well, the race never
milliwatt.
stopped. Oh, 1400 milliwatt. Right. I heard they're doing 1000 hertz thing to like get on board with the obscene speeds and feeds as well.
Yeah, hang on. I am just looking for it now. The ultimate hybrid, apparently.
No, that's the video receiver. Yeah. I saw that. That was cool.
Yeah, hang on.
It looks a bit like a Vista, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got the 20 by 20 mounting points there. If you're listening to this on an audio podcast, we are live every Thursday at 8 till 9 p.m. UK time on YouTube. Let's sdroneout. But yeah, we've got export only, Pyrodrone USA. Yep, standard mounting pattern for digital VTX Cadex Vista. It supports 6S, 2 to 6S, and it's got a 5.8, 10 to 1500 milliwatt video transmitter. But the there is an asterisk there, which is 1 kilohertz ready for when OpenTX can supply quality data at this rate. Available TX channels and power may vary region to region to comply with local regulations.
Nice.
And EU limited to 25 milliwatts. Oh no.
Yeah.
Penetrate anything in the FPV world.
Yep. Onboard Ghost Uno receiver, only 10.3 with heatsink.
Why did they do the Ghost Uno and not the Duo if they've got a freaking massive VTX? Surely you'd want the 2 aerial receiver.
I mean, like, I don't feel like this is a big enough product to warrant like hassling Tony to get on. But yeah, you kind of makes you wonder. The 2.4 gig Lura and FLRC control. What is FLRC control?
It's like the shorter range, lower latency cousin to LoRa. Slightly. Yeah. It doesn't use the chirp spread spectrum, but it does some other funky tricks. It can manage higher bandwidth. So instead of LoRa, which is pretty low bandwidth but has great noise tolerance, it forgoes some of that noise tolerance to increase the bandwidth.
The only problem with Immersion RC stuff is they do sell stuff that is locked properly at 25 milliwatts to Europe, where most manufacturers have to unlock it, press this button for 5 seconds. It's a little bit more hassle unlocking stuff from Immersion RC.
Is it not unlockable at all then?
I don't know.
Probably
Previous
not.
ones, you've needed a special wand that only Tony has the code to make it different. It's not a simple case of doing stuff.
Oh, someone's already pointed out that Foxeer have a 2.5 watt VTX. Actually looks quite similar to that. Does anyone have a picture of the Foxeer one to hand? It's got very similar metal enclosure from memory.
I suppose they all look reasonably similar because they need a big old heatsink sat on top, don't they?
Well, it's the Reaper, I think, right?
Yeah, the Reaper Extreme. The Foxeer one, it just looks like they're starting to take a cue from some of the design that we've seen with the Vista, where instead of a rather ropey-looking heatsink, it's now kind of an integral heatsink and
yes,
like
it's certainly
chassis mounting.
Better-looking fit, isn't it? I've noticed this recently with other ones. I had one from, I think I had a Foxeer one, but it only went up to like 1.6 or something. I flew it today, I believe, and that was quite a neat shape.
That's
it's very similar to like that Rush Solo tank style one.
Yeah.
There was a Rush Solo one, and what is that? Hang on, I can't remember the one I reviewed now. I'm going to have a look at it.
So if you really want long range, you probably want to just go straight up to this and then run like a Ghost Duo or something. So you get 2 antennas. It does look strikingly similar, I thought, with the metal casing. It's the business. It's got that like 2 mount system where it's got 20 by 20 and 30 by 30, except it looks like the 20 by 20 doesn't go all the way through the heatsink. It's just threaded into the heatsink, and maybe the 30 by 30s, when you take the bolts out, do go all the way through. Bit odd. Yeah, very reminiscent of the Vista anyway. Yeah. So yeah, long range fun with properly encased VTXs, because in the past there were a lot of high power VTXs, but it usually came down to you better take off quick or have like low power disarm or something like that, because you were going to get that thing up to over 100 degrees sitting on the ground for a few seconds otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, most things, fortunately, at least sit on 25 milliwatts, which is, better than nothing. Although 25 milliwatts, as people tell me all the time, this gets really hot. Yeah, keep it moving in the air. It'll like it better.
Yeah, standard mounting pattern, not exactly a special one, is it? I can't get the web page up right now.
The one I was thinking of is this one, which is similar-ish again. It's got a little bit more of a stripy thing there for the heatsink, but
enhance.
I can't. There you go. Enhance. Oh no! Subscribe.
5%. Woohoo!
Woo! Yeah, it's got these little things that look heatsinky, but yeah, the entire thing was more of a. There's more of a design thing behind it. I think people are learning how to get slightly better VTX designs, at least. That only goes up to 1 watt. Pff, what's the point of that?
Why even bother? Honestly.
Exactly. It's not 2 watts. They're not trying.
Thanks to Dominic, by the way, for his kind of input in clean flight and things. I was actually listening to one of his presentations from many years ago at the gym today, when he explained this fascinating new project called Clean Flight to some hackerspace group somewhere, and it was captured forever on YouTube. It's pretty interesting to hear him talk about the big ticket items that were coming out for Clean Flight. Some of those have come to pass, and some of them are still kind of unfolding now, which is interesting.
Interesting.
But yeah, well, I think we've mentioned before about base flight and how it was kind of the Wild West, and yeah, it's pretty interesting to hear that said. It made me want to do just an April the 1st PR for Betaflight, where I take all the source files, put them in the directory, and give them names like A.C, B.C, C.C, D.C, and call it rebase flight.
Call it obfuscation flight. Just rename all the functions
delete the
to
unit
random
tests.
names. Yeah. That'd be fun.
What's the most important big ticket item that's missing these days? Well, funny you should ask. I think probably the GPS stuff. There were a few questions at the end of that talk about like mission planner and things, and whether we're going to have altitude hold. And it looks like with people starting to put 10,000, 20,000 pounds worth of camera gear up on some cine lifters running Betaflight, that altitude hold and position hold is starting to really matter to people. And it's looking like that's going to be like a fail-safe alternative in the near future. I'm not sure about the full mission planning stuff, but at least the ability to say, I'm going to fail-safe because I've lost control link, but instead of motor cut, I'm going to go into just a position hold, and I'm going to trust that you'll probably step out from around the side of that building or put another battery in your radio or whatever it is that's caused the problem, and I won't just ditch 20 grand's worth of camera gear into the concrete.
See, I like that. It's like ages ago, people were sort of asking about this and getting told that, oh, you can't do that because there's no compass, and it's like, well, you can infer a certain amount, but mostly they were interested in sort of the racing, going fast aspects, going smooth. If it carries on like this, you never know. 10 years from now, Express LRS will have S-Bus. Because if you ask them now, they'll be like, no, we're not doing that.
Oh, they've already had a big huff about that. I think the official response is to buy a Matec board that converts CRSF to S-Bus and just go away.
There is somebody forked the project to do a specific S-Bus version of it. You never know if he actually does something to it and makes it. It could be merged back in, I suppose.
And Dominic there mentioned Chris Thompson's work on GPS, and he's done a ton of work, including using barometer to get better height feedback, so that when you're descending and ascending, you can do that a lot smoother. Increasing the sampling rate for the GPS so that you get better feedback and you can do smoother flight control. Just lots of bits and pieces. Instead of it being like a manned missile, I think we mentioned this before, it now just comes back and descends, doesn't smash into the ground, just descends, hits the ground gently and switches the motors off. Instead of sort of either diving into the ground and viciously bouncing, or failing to turn the motors off when it tapped the ground, or descending in a kind of oscillating, crazy, mad bat sort of way. Yeah, it's looking a lot better.
It's just reminded me of videos I've seen where you've had things return to home and then go down, but refuse to disarm. And I've seen people holding sticks over it. Someone trying to crawl under to get the battery and trying to hit it to death until it stops. All good fun. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in there. There's also been a lot of reviewing of the old code, which I think it's not sexy and it's not new features, but there's been a lot of let's look at the arming conditions and figure out what is actually causing arming or disarming to happen. And a lot of that was not really hadn't been revisited in a while, and there was situations like, oh look at this is interesting. You could have a GPS lock be cleared to do your return to home, and then when you went into GPS return to home, you could be in a situation where you actually didn't have enough satellites and you hadn't told the user, and it just straight up disarms and falls out the sky. This is good news, because for a long time, Betaflight was all about, let's put exciting whizzy features in and have a release every 2 days. And it starts to look like a bit more of a sensible project, where it's actually like, well, let's go back and review some code and see what needs to be looked at there, and see if we need to make some changes and make things more efficient and take stuff out that doesn't need to be there. They could do that with the documentation as well, if they fancied having a good go at that. That would be quite nice.
Yeah, I was looking at that at work, actually, how easy it is to do GitHub Pages sites where you have like a Git repo that's all markdown, and you put a markdown processor on it and generate a bunch of HTML. And the ExpressLRS project does this. In fact, if you go to expresslrs.org, that site is generated from one of their Git repos, but it looks really nice, and it's got a drop down, so you can say I'm using ExpressLRS version 1, 2, or 3, and it's all very nicely laid out. It doesn't look like typical developer programmer documentation. It looks really nice. So that might be something that could be done.
Let's hope so. All right then. Awkward silence. Jack, what you got?
Awkward silence. Yeah.
Oh, he's turned the light off.
Okay. Hang on.
ELRS v3 finally landed.
8 seconds.
I saw that. I haven't quite upgraded yet, because I was out today testing out my new Radiomaster TX12 Mark II, and I think they had 2.6 on it, and I thought I'll fly that before I come back and do all my updates, because I got a whole bunch of modules and radios and bits and pieces to update. But that's quite a nice radio. I think you'd like it, Stephen, because you quite like that form factor, don't you? Like, it's like your
Which one's that?
yellow
The
radio.
TX12V2.
12, yeah.
Mm.
It's got very nice
Yeah,
gimbals.
it's very nice.
I tried to make the gimbals fail, and everything I did, flicking it back and messing around with them, bashing them, they just went junk straight back to 1500 USEC on Betaflight.
Yeah, it's got the same gimbals as the Zorro's got. Interestingly enough, if you buy them as separate parts, they're almost as good quality as the AGO1 minis, but I think they're like $6 each or something. I've got a set there that I was going to put into my tea light.
Yeah,
apparently
it practically is a Zorro.
Yeah, I was gonna say apparently the new Tango 2 and Tango 2 Pros have new gimbals in them, according to Trappy on the TBS couch this morning. Any of the new Tangos that are shipping out or on pre-order will have the new gimbals in it. So it's interesting. But I guess they're still not like, CNC Hall effect gimbals. So
these were Hall effect gimbals, but I do find
Hall effect.
Sorry. No matter what the gimbal is, it's still the feel of it mostly comes from the spring, which you still can't get away from. I mean, the fact it's very accurate and always comes back is very nice, but I never feel that much of a difference between cheapo stuff and expensive stuff from that point of view.
Do you see this one, guys?
Elysium.
I don't know if anyone.
See what you see.
It's cyberpunk radio. Someone's been influenced by putting an Android phone in the middle of a radio and making it like something a 13-year-old would design. Say this is what the future looks like.
Well, you remember what this is based off, right? Do you remember the original one?
The Tango one?
The one that starts with N. Nirvana,
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, there you are. So that was an N14, I think, or NV14, something like that, by FlySky. And they don't release radios very often. They release a lot of quite cheapo, nasty transmitters for service vehicles. But this guy is supposed to have some quite fantastic gimbals in. You get the CNC machine gimbals as standard. You get this weird mobile phone portrait orientation screen, but it's a color touch screen. They've moved from micro USB to USB-C for charging. It looks quite nice. The red paint job is somewhat ostentatious, but it was black before. I guess they felt they had to make it really obvious it was new, rather than having to sort of peer at it to see what the difference was.
Mm-hmm.
The handles look very long.
Yeah, it's just like each handle's got the 18650 wedged in there.
Battery.
Yeah,
I got
that's
it.
how it works.
Yeah, and they made
always,
it hot swappable.
Sorry, NJ was always very, very keen on the gimbals for the radio. Well, it took a long time to produce something worthy. At least it's just running HTX now, is it?
It's an interesting sort of switch layout. Unlike a lot of radios, they've got the gamepad style, but then they've got a couple of pots on there as well. They've got an interesting layout. It's not a layout that anyone else has done. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone, but it's interesting to see the variety, I think.
The pot's in kind of an odd place. You'd expect side sliders rather, because having to sort of, I'm going to have to take my hand off a stick and do this.
It's a bit odd, yeah.
Instead of something else.
Pods always feel like they're in odd locations for me, though. That's why mine are just like volume control and brightness control. I can't imagine actually using them. On the TX16, they're right at the top of the radio, and the sticks are quite a distance below them, so you'd have to do the same awkward stretch on the TX16, I think.
See, I used to use them on like my original Tyrannus flying a plane, but that's like you take your hands off, the plane carries on, and you just like twiddle around on your pan. It's different. You don't really think about these controls on a quad so much.
No. That's why I think they are basically brightness and volume controls for HTX.
Could be. What was the picture of a bit of GPS from the Avata?
Yeah, DJI. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you
smashed.
Put
it back up.
Yeah, if you're in the Discord, this was in Robin's gossip corner.
Someone has had a bad landing.
Yeah, and the weird thing is I really recognise the
bad
GPS
piloting.
puck. It really does look like
like a generic M8 sort of thing.
Yeah.
The antennas all look the same, don't they?
Yeah, but as you can see, like the the lens has come off.
Yeah.
They actually
plastic-
shattered the ceramic antenna on the GPS. I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of crashes. I've never seen anyone shatter the GPS antenna.
That is a very
Looks-
accurate
that
looks
crash
like an LED.
onto a pointy thing.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and obviously the top's been smashed out, so I'm guessing that's what that plastic
They
is.
didn't crack the prop guards. How did you manage to shatter the GPS antenna and leave the prop guards intact?
Upside
What kind
down
of freak
and-
crash is that?
Yeah, that's a
Literally
pretty
must have
weird
smashed
crash.
it upside down onto
Yeah.
like a railing. You know those railings with the pointy edge? He smacks it straight on there.
Huh.
Yeah.
And that's
A lot of
what's
force.
you got some braided cable there, and that's what's left of the sensor. So it's a shame we
Does he
didn't really
have
get a good look at that.
That'll be an
DJI
expensive
care?
repair. Yeah, hopefully they had that refresh.
DJI care is a misnomer.
DJI doesn't care.
Be careful.
want
DJI
some money.
wallet emptying service, yeah.
Yeah, my experience with them is if you pay them, they care. If you don't pay
Yeah.
them, they might care even if you don't pay them.
They're not a
'Cause,
charity.
Yeah. They,
People
Well,
who
you-
only care when you pay them, they're prostitutes, surely. That's certainly
well, you know
I-
what? No, I've
for
actually. There's been some circumstances where even things that have been outside of warranty, sometimes kind of like what Apple does. Like sometimes, out of the goodness of XYZ, employee's heart, they'll waive this as a one-time, gesture kind of thing. And
So you've had
Yeah.
Apple do stuff for you for nothing.
I have sometimes, yeah, actually. Like I had a battery replaced one time where it was outside of warranty, and I just had an iPhone, but it was outside of warranty, and the battery health or whatever was like way below what it should have been based on outside of how long outside of warranty it was, and they just did it for me, and it was no big deal.
Wow.
Was that roughly the time where they had a class action lawsuit about hiding battery health? Was it round about that time?
You know what? It very well could have been, and yeah, yeah.
Dirtbags.
I got
Well,
a weird.
I was
Oh,
asking about the
God.
GoPro. We didn't start it.
No GoPro. I got a
I'll
weird
set a
lipo.
timer I'll
And it's
set a
got-
timer for 10 minutes.
I was going to derail this. I got a 21700 3S, and it's got a little built-in battery
Indicator.
checker.
That's cool.
I thought that was pretty neat for a goggle pack. It's 4800 mAh 3S, so about 2 days of forgetting to switch your goggles off. I think probably not too bad.
That's not bad. That's not too bad.
All right then, people, quick.
GoPro alert!
reaction,
GoPro
then.
alert!
Shall we
hey,
do the
hey.
main one first, or are we going straight to the mini?
Well, let's get straight to the mini because was it who said last week that it wasn't real? Was that someone was like, no, that's not a real thing? Was that Jack?
you.
That was
No,
me.
it was
I
Jack.
think I was like, I just
Oh, yeah,
didn't
you were
want
saying
any
it was
more
a render,
GoPro
weren't you?
used.
You were saying
Yeah,
it's so
Which,
easy on
to be fair,
Photoshop.
was a render, but then it was a render of a real product. It appears. I'm still totally not interested in this product after hearing
No.
about what's it? It's 130 grams or something.
Yeah, 133. If you take off the legs or whatever, you get a couple grams off. But then
Yeah.
it's basically the same thing as like the full size 11. If you do the battery whatever removal.
So-
Well, I checked my
Wasn't that
GoPro
the same
Hero
as the
8
7?
with the case
Yeah.
and the back without bothering to take the case off. And the back, and of course the micro SD for the pittance that adds. That is 118 grams, and it's a full GoPro Hero 8. So how have they ended up being like 15 grams more than this?
without screens and
Yeah,
Don't
Yeah.
forget the amazing battery that you can't remove.
yeah,
But
that's so
It's a
silly.
special battery.
well, it's
It's a guarantee you need to buy a new one every year when your battery dies. That's what it is.
I mean, I still have Hero 5 sessions. The batteries are fine, so I think that the batteries will be fine. Like,
You don't.
I mean-
I assumed you crack yours open and replace the batteries or something. No.
no, yeah, no, they're still going strong. It's actually really strange about one of my sessions is that if I have an SD card in the SD card slot, and it's not on, it's just hanging out in the cupboard or whatever in the desk, the battery drains itself. If I don't have the SD card in it and the battery's off, it doesn't drain itself. So something funky is going on with that, but I have 3 other sessions that are going strong, so still holding charge and still.
Does anybody have a GoPro subscription? I had one because when my wife bought me my GoPro 10 for Christmas, you get it for cheaper if you get it. So you basically get it and cancel it. But I actually tried letting it update stuff while I was away on holiday doing underwater stuff, and it was arse. It didn't update. It managed to like transfer about 2 files out of 100. It's just pathetic. So
you're better off just taking the card and like plugging it into like a USB port on your Android phone and using YouTube or something. It's
well, you lost me there on Android phone, but yeah, I just take multiple
something
SD
that has
cards.
an SD card. Yeah,
that's fair. That is a good point, Stephen. Yeah.
That's what I've done on holiday. Like, you go out, get some pictures, and you like plug things into a tablet via USB OTG, or just shove it in the SD card slot and synchronize that to whatever your photo storage is on the tablet. Leave that charging, come back, and it's done.
They just show this as this amazing thing where it will update for you. It's like if you have Wi-Fi on, it's like how to drain your battery. And then it's like, oh, by the way, we're filming all these amazing locations. Do you have any Wi-Fi here? No.
No.
But what did you guys think of the big camera? Because that was a very small incremental upgrade into a couple of extra modes. Like
I mean, what is the major?
Stuff,
the hyperview. I guess that's another thing, right?
Hyperview instead of super view. It got wider, which looks quite pretty, but nothing amazing.
Is it internally? Is it a different sensor? Have they just tweaked the algorithm?
They're saying they changed the sensor. The sensor's taller.
Yeah, it's like an 8 by something.
8x7 or something.
Yeah, 8x7 aspect ratio, which is basically a completely new, like unheard of. I actually, one of those weird things that I saw on the YouTube, on GoPro's YouTube thing was someone was asking, hey, well, sorry, I digress. Sorry about this to go back to the Mini, but something that I thought that was strange about the Mini, it has no photo mode. And but
when
GoPro
did you ever use the photo mode?
Yeah, I use it when we're out. I put it on burst mode and do this. Wherever we are, then we've got like a bunch of photos and we can choose one of them.
Or make a GIF out of it or whatever. And GoPro's response though on their YouTube thing about someone asking, hey, why doesn't it do photo mode? They said, well, it's a 27 megapixel sensor. You can do a screen grab. But my argument there was, well, if you're shooting video and you're shooting video with the proper, and I put quotations, proper shutter speed, and you're following the 180-degree rule, then all of your frames are going to have motion blur. So how could you get a proper screen grab out of it?
Don't use motion blur.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, I feel like not many people even do, because it's kind of a pain to really,
It's kind of one of those silent divisions, and there's not many of them that are silent, but in the FPV community, there are people who are nuts about getting the right ND filters and setting exposures, and there's people who are just like, meh. I'm in the latter camp, I'm afraid to say.
Certain use cases, I mean, with the session or with something that doesn't have a screen, good luck. You're going to be doing this whole like Bluetooth thing to the app, and let's monitor it from my phone, and okay, let's add some more NDs on the front. Okay, now let's fiddle around with this. It's like, no. Who's going to sit there for 20 minutes trying to get the proper exposure just for it to change because the Earth decides to turn a little bit? You know what I mean? Like,
nobody. But talking of the Earth turning, the Mini also doesn't have the starlight modes, so you can't get star trails if you do a time lapse in the sky at night.
And that's got to be purely an arbitrary limitation, because the processor would be the same, sure.
I don't know why. It's like they've deliberately taken it out. Perhaps it's too complex to think about on the little piddly menu they've got.
Well, not to mention it's still
difference.
Well, yeah, not to mention it's like, well, I'm speaking in Canadian terms, but it's still $530. Like, that is a lot of money for, for anything, any kind of action camera, let alone one that doesn't have any screens or a photo mode or any other feature, or some of the features that are in, their other really expensive cameras.
But is it better than the Action 2? Will it sway anyone away from the Action 2, or is it still just too expensive to do that?
Well, the hyperview is probably like, in that same realm as Action 2's like super crazy view, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. That's a whole other debate, I think. Yeah.
That is a lot of money, isn't it? Really, to strap to a quad.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, how much do you think I knew? I mean, again, here comes the hypothetical train. Session 6, like, how much is that going to be? If it even exists?
It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They've just brought out the DJI Mini. That's all they need.
Yeah.
If we're doing conspiracy theories, there's one
DJI
like
GoPro
they just didn't bother to test it, so they couldn't say they could do it. Or I don't know. Equally so, maybe it's smaller and it just can't dissipate the heat for some of the fancy modes. If you're going to be sitting there and running a CPU flat out all the time instead of just 100 milliseconds here and there.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if they fixed that, because the 10 had a tendency to overheat under certain conditions, like filming high frame rates in 4K if you weren't sat in the Arctic Circle.
The 8
Pretty
had a
tasty.
weird thing where it doesn't like the cold weather. The batteries
don't like the cold weather. When I'm skiing, it's like, oh, this lasted for half an hour. It's like mostly that's because the snow's the GoPro's in the snow because I've fallen over and dragged it through, so it gets a bit colder. But yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's the same as my camera batteries, even my DJI Mavic batteries. They all just kind of suck in the winter, especially in Canada.
Yeah, well, it's like hot cold, isn't it? Really, it's like we complained like
you guys complain. Oh, it's
winter.
0 degrees outside today.
We've
and
got
it's like
ice on
minus
the
30
roads.
here.
3 people are dead already. Ice.
Yeah, no. You have to
back here in Canada, we got snow up to our chest, and we got to walk uphill both ways just to get to school. And
you're outside, like grilling outside, shovel the snow out of the way, and off you go.
Oh yeah, and we help our
remove
neighbors and all that. Yeah,
it just depends what you're used to. When I was in Austin working some years ago now, they had an ice storm. They called it, and they had it flashed up on the ice storm warning. We would have called it a bit of a frosty day, but the Texans weren't used to this. So within the state of an hour, they'd had 1,500 car accidents in one stretch of freeway, and it's like all the businesses closed. It's like, save yourselves. We just go out there. It's like,
they didn't build any of the roads with
chilly.
actual drainage, did they, in Texas? So whenever they have any amount of rain, it just floods everywhere.
The problem is, no, they don't do. So the water runs down under the freeway bridges and freezes there, and then they just drive along in there at Ford F-150s, which are only 2-wheel drive and just doing their normal like
1980s tech,
and then everyone dies.
Yeah, I was there when there was a snowstorm, which was like just below 0, and I was flying out of Austin Bergstrom Airport, and they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, right, we will need to de-ice the planes before we take off." And we waited, and then there was an announcement. We apologize. It appears that in attempting to bring the ISO equipment online, we've broken it. We've sent out for more de-icing equipment, and they apparently just didn't know how the de-icers worked, and they broke them when they tried to get them out and use them. So to go and get more de-icers.
Surprise, surprise.
RTFM, if you're not sure.
It's a long time sitting on the runway. Oh well.
Yeah, they'd seized, and when you moved them, they exploded. Yeah.
I just imagine people in the airport like, "What the heck is this?" Crunch, smash.
Wrong kind of leaves on the lines. Yeah, indeed.
Ah, the good old leaves. I went out flying today. It made me laugh about the new GoPro. It's got 10-bit color. I was like, I need about 4 bits to do grey. Different grey and slightly different grey out here. That'll do me. I don't need a very expensive sensor today. It wasn't very nice, but it wasn't raining.
That's where the 10-bit color comes in, Curry. Because if you go back to the days of 16-bit color, people might remember seeing sky where you'd have bands of color. You could see the different shades, and that's literally where the 10-bit color comes in. So you don't get
starting to
banding.
reminisce now. I used to program those on the Copper and the Amiga. It's like nice shades of blue coming down the gradients. Lovely.
Only because you didn't have many gradients, you'd have like a quarter of the sky is one color, then the next quarter of the sky is another color.
This is what you chunks. Start divering. This is what it needs. It just needs a bit of divering. It doesn't need more bits.
Oh god, yeah. I see everyone going so crazy. Wow, it has 10-bit. I can color grade now and make the most cinematic videos. And I'm like, oh my god, people need to stop using the word cinematic. It's like
let's render it all at 24 frames a second and put film grain on it. It's cinematic.
Oh, and if we boost the blues just slightly, it's so cinematic. Ooh, look at this cinematic video, guys. It's so amazing.
Just looks like one of those TVs in the showroom where everything's like turned up to 11 and your eyes are watering the instant you try and look at it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I get a laugh out of that whole cinematic term. It seems to be overused now, and like even some brands. I think there was like some new like Cine Lifter, like flight controller ESC, whatever. It's got like 8 of it can be like an Octo whatever ESC or flight controller combo. It's called like cinematic. It's like technically anything could be considered cinematic if you fly it that way or if you edit it that way. So, putting a whole blanket statement on the term cinematic is just, it's such a buzzword these days.
I bought cinematic motors.
Wow. Are those in the movies, dude?
They are 2809s. I thought my 7-inch needed a bit more pop, so I got a set of 2809s after being... I really wanted to run the 2807s on ATES, but it wasn't happening. Apparently, these puppies are going to desync less, so I thought I'd give them a whirl.
Those are going to put you in Hollywood, man.
I'm going to be in Hollywood just automatically. I put my freaking GoPro on there, fly around the park and do like a few rolls. I'm going to just, Sundance instantly.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no problem. See you at Cannes.
This is a rapid change of subject here. I see Stephen's printer in the background. Now, what do you want to call the ones with the cables that do the thing? I forgot the name for it.
It's Delta. A Delta. It's instead of an XY, it's got 3 arms, and it kind of prints in a circle.
It about. So I was in one of my many university visits, and I've talked previously. I think I've definitely talked to Frank about it, about how people in product design degrees don't need to demonstrate there's any use for their item. They just have to decide there's a need. And what I saw, I went WTF, so it's editor friendly, and it's basically a guy attached a Delta printer to a very large quad, flew it to a hole in the road and proceeded to 3D print into the hole and called it a drone hole repair road thing. That was his product. I don't think that was product design. I think it was actually part of the mechanical engineering degree, and it just struck me as like, you don't need to have like a market for it or say this is something that can be used because it's passed all the definite tests that would happen. They just have to imagine something wacky and build it. Here's your degree.
You could accomplish much the same thing with a bored bloke called Fred, who walks up with a can of expanding foam, scratches his arse, and sprays the expanding foam into the hole in the road. It'd be both faster and cheaper and more effective.
That was my argument. But last time I actually went to one of these product design shows because I had to accompany my daughter, and somebody had a quad there, which I proceeded to ask him difficult questions about, and eventually it came out with the fact, because he was basically saying it's a drone delivery. I was like, okay, so you got legal for this? No, if this ever went into this, we'd do this. And I said, well, what about the efficiency of it? Have you looked at wings and things like sort of the Google drone? No, I didn't look at other researchers. So what did you do? And essentially, he printed the arms with holes in them in order to reduce the weight, to make it more efficient, which is like, again, it's not really going above and beyond, but if you can do that as a fun project and get a degree from it, it's quite good, I suppose.
Yeah,
quite fun is what I'm learning about degrees. I'm quite sad I didn't go to university now.
I'm quite sad I don't have the phenomenal id and ego necessary to just assume that I've not looked at anyone else's work and therefore mine must be the best ever, and then go and sell it. That would be incredible. Could make so much money.
I don't think it's trying to sell it, but it's very interesting. If you turn up on these shows, which Frank knew about them because he'd been at these things. It's called the Design Show in London. They instantly think, if you're not a student, obviously like me, they think you might be from industry and interested in their invention, and they're very excited to come and talk to you and tell you all about it. And then you say, no, I'm here. This one's going to university. And oh, okay, I'm going to get sad again. Never mind. Burst some bubbles. It's all good.
You should lie and tell them you're from Dragon's Den.
That was just, I just saw the Delta printer there and it reminded me of that, and I was just going around this mechanical engineering lab saying this is stupid.
It's a nice little printer. It's
attach it to a quad then. Go fill some holes in.
Well, yeah.
I don't think I ever worked out how he decided what the G code would be for it. He just started spurting out filament.
Did Cole get his badly printed GoPro mount?
Oh, yes, they did arrive. I totally forgot to mention that I got them. Yeah, I've got them with all the rest of my stuff and plan to use them next time I go out and fly. I haven't flown in like 2 weeks, so yeah, it's haven't even had a chance to even really look at my quads. I've been so busy, but yeah, gonna chuck those on my quad, throw my session in there, and actually let it rip. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Thanks, man.
No problem.
So,
hope they haven't got lost. That was all.
V2.
Also V2.
Yeah, as soon as we've got the very lovely Alexander Fedorov, who appeared. Hello, evening, good evening. So yeah, this is the Kiss Ultra Instagram. Give them a follow, but Kiss Ultra SC. And yeah, we've got the new V2 coming.
Nice.
In. So that's.
So do these
exciting.
Have OSDs yet?
Yes.
Yep.
Even the Kiss V1, the Kiss Ultra V1.
Does it have a high volt back that you can actually use with a Vista?
I don't know, but here we have.
The FETEC one says it's got a 16 volt back, but it's not recommended to use it for your Vista, so I don't know what the hell you're supposed to use
FETEC
the back
is different than Ultra, though.
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering. That doesn't look like there is a back. Okay.
Added protection on all data lines, added ESD protection on USO connection, change 5 volt back, 1.7 amps to 2 amps. Enough
Capable of
to power
ATES.
buzzers, VTX, and camera. It's 6S rated, but capable of 8S and 9. 2 separate
Interesting
5
gyro
volt
choice.
lines. Yeah, works on USB, and one for FOV works on a LiPo. Dedicated current sensor pad, extra pin on ESC connector, change pin out for FPV part, way cleaner now. Barrow moved to the bottom side of FC, protect from sun, integrated spike absorber, new gyro. What did you mean by interest in gyro?
I just hadn't seen that model used before.
42 IIM 42652.
Yeah, people have been moving to different gyro chips, and they used some of it. I think he means he's got IIM there, but he means ICM, and it's a 42688. I think was the one that was the kind of budget offering.
No more MPU 6000s, right?
Yeah, as Dom says, the 42688P is better and pin compatible. So there's a lot of gyros that look basically the same, but the vendor intends them for different purposes. They're some are better noise immunity, some are more robust, and so on and so forth.
So he said, I absolutely didn't like the ICM or LSM or Bosch gyros. I tried them all, actually. Dom says. He also says, I use IIM 42652, works best for my needs.
Interesting.
Alex, we've got Menace on next week, but give us a nod when you release the V2, and we'll have you on to chat about them.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We'd love to hear more about it. Yeah.
You know,
it looks like that one is the extended temperature range one, from what I could see. So the industrial connotation is that it has wider temperature.
It's interesting to see two giants, you know, like, you know, Clean Flight and then Kiss sort of talk it out in the chat.
I feel like I can't join in because I don't know the gyro models at all, except for that.
I don't know
one,
these new ones either.
66,000 thing. That's all.
Ooh, fancy. Test batch in production.
Yeah, it'll be good to know.
Yeah, they're a bit of a dark art gyro selection because they've got various sensitivities, and the sensitivities they change when you change the sampling rates and things.
And temperature.
Yeah, it's all up in the air.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, no, he had to stop at some point. He had to stop so far. That's the gyro for him. So
nice.
Yeah, it can't be easy because like getting parts, we're still in a massive chip shortage. I mean, you know, like Raspberry Pis are going like for £90 and stuff.
Raspberry Pis, yeah. You want one? 2023, maybe. If you're lucky.
I'll bake you a Raspberry Pi for that much money.
Like, I think the Raspberry Pi 3.
Nobody liked my joke. Damn it.
Yeah. Supported.
It's just been ignored now, Cole.
Yeah.
Acknowledged. It was that bad.
Yeah, it was so
Go sit in the corner quietly.
Like, when does the support run out for it? Like,
the support for what?
Oh, January 2026. Hang on.
For what?
Raspberry Pi Model 3. There you go. 2026.
What sense?
Yeah. Obsolescence. By the time they come in stock, they'll be obsolete.
I want a 02. I don't want anything else. I can't get.
You can't have
getting
one.
The zeros is
the
impossible.
Little wave share doodahs are pretty cute. This one's been working well for me. It's my little ELRS USB-C adapter, so I could plug that into the PC and then connect my radio to this and USB it in. That's quite fun.
Well, that doesn't help me. It doesn't help me get a Pi 02, which don't exist. Unless you pay scat. This is like buying the PS5 like a year ago. It's like, oh yeah, some dodgy bloke on eBay's got one for £1,000. Do you want that one?
So I was saying that the Pi 02, this you said it, 02. Oh right, sorry, yeah. I thought I was Pico for a second. Right.
Yeah, the 02W will remain in production to at least January 2028.
Well, yeah, that's probably the next time we'll get one.
Are you still struggling to build OpenHD then? You can't quite get the perfect rig together.
I've got stuff to do from my last flight with it. Some of which included going and getting some antennas made. Now I found out from some other guys about the Wi-Fi adapters being very strong from like something like 5120 to 5360, and so you need to go down in that range to get decent power. And if you're going to do that, then you need a different antenna completely because you're so far out the spec of the regular antennas. It's like this will improve things. Right, okay. How do I get it? Here's a Gerber file. Go and order it. Right, so I've done that. It's very straightforward, really. You just have to get some antennas made by electronics firms and find.
So it wasn't your USB leads. You're not going to have to solder those 4 dangerous leads that might break everything. Then
they said that do that as well. So I'll give it a go. Oh, he said like
the magnifier.
The guy I'm talking to who has done some like amazing flights, and he's getting like perfect picture at like 30 kilometers. So I trust what he's saying. It's like, oh, I just used a Dremel to cut that bit away, and then I soldered those bits, and it's dead easy. It's like, oh, okay then. It's just annoying. The annoyance is the price of those Wi-Fi adapters is very high, so you don't want to cock it up.
About 60 quid a pop, aren't they?
I think I got mine for about 45. But I did. Jack's already made up some little balance lead cables for me, because I did come with the intention of doing this and separating out, but still having a connector, but which is, you know, USB can shake around. Balance cables.
I did see someone mention a part on like AliExpress that was similar to that, but with slightly lower power. Do you think those Asus ones, the AC56 is the be-all and end-all for that?
That seems to be the very popular one. There are a bunch of ones that are quite similar on AliExpress, although some of them it's like, oh, you need to add heat sinks to this because they run hot and do this and do that. So the Asus one was very much a little bit more plug and play than the other ones.
There was an Alpha one as well. There was some Alpha one that could run up to like 30 dBm that people were saying was good.
I haven't looked at those ones. I've got my 2 adapters. That's okay if I can interchange them. And as soon as I get these antennas through, which weren't that expensive to make actually. It's like I'm playing about something like about 5 or 8 quid, I think, to get 5 of these antennas made and shipped to me, which isn't too bad. But they are.
What's the difference between them and a regular FPV antenna?
Let me show you a picture of one. Where have I got a picture? Hold on.
I'm intrigued because we've had a barrage of antenna designs that came with first refined analog, kind of with indestructible antennas for freestyle, and then DJI antennas and walk snail antennas and HD0. People seem to have settled on a kind of fairly robust design for omnis at this point.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was thinking these antennas are going to work fine because they work fine in FPV and we're doing the same stuff, but allegedly different stuff for different types of traffic or signal and gubbins like that. Can I find it? Hang on. Let me go onto my Discord thing here and look at
photographic evidence. Photographic evidence of antennas.
Oh, there you go. I found out some guy who was actually making up and selling them, but I didn't get them from him. They are called the Maple Leaf antenna, and they look like share screen, Chrome tab, Maple Leaf antenna, like that.
What?
Hang on, loading.
That is a funky looking antenna.
Yeah,
Canada. So the Maple Leafs.
That is, it's very Canadian, isn't it? Are you happy, Cole?
What's the actual PCB pattern that's going underneath what appears to be a diagram of a broadsword?
Something or other. I don't know.
It looks like an ice lolly stick.
Yeah, it does look very different, but they are allegedly. Yeah, I've had to order like a bunch of right-angled SMA, or actually RPSMA connectors because of the way the Asus thingy has its connection.
All right.
And
here we are on Tindy. I found the.
Yep. Everyone.
3 dBm Omni, vertical polarized.
Yeah, but the point of this is its frequency is 5.2 to 5.3, which is what we're after.
I thought you said you had to change your frequency off 5.2 or 5.3.
Yes, I'm coming to that problem as to face it. I had a specific problem on 5230, but I haven't tried some of the other ones. So
I'm just surprised that the actual signal strength is a problem when you're flying like under 100 meters from yourself in an open field.
It is weird. It's like I can only guess that. Remember when back in the day, the early analog VTXs, it'd be like, oh, it's a 200 milliwatt one, and one channel's 200 milliwatts, another's like 4 milliwatts, and another's like 400 milliwatts because they're so badly made for that sort of thing. So I don't know if this is the problem with this. Someone's done the testing and said the power output for this antenna is here. This is where you need to be. If you put it into what I was using, it's poo, and so are your antennas, and you're going to die if you don't solder these on properly. So it's like, okay, fair enough. I will do that.
So you found someone who's got some advice, but they're exceedingly prescriptive, and so you're following the exceedingly prescriptive route to.
Well, this is a simple change. At least getting the antennas is easy. Putting the antennas on is easy. Whether my ground station will run happily on this frequency is another question. But we'll be talking to developers about why that's going wrong there.
Reminds me a little bit of trying to have a drink with a former colleague of mine, and if you go into a bar that had any decent gin selection, they'd ask you if you wanted a martini and then proceed to give the barman an embarrassing 15-minute lecture on how to make the perfect martini, and would refuse to drink it unless he followed the instructions perfectly. To the point where you just felt quite sorry for the bartender by the time you got your drink, and a little bit like it was time to go home before you sipped it.
There are some
any
difficulties.
tips on cheap but good long-range antennas? Menace RC, that is definitely put your questions into the Discord for next week. So if you need any RC Menace sort of antennas.
Well, Canadian connections vanished, but the True RC ones are pretty good. They do one that's particularly funky, that's a carbon tube, which I've got somewhere. Where are you, my pretty?
I used the Menace on my goggles. I got a periscope and the mini. What's the mini one? Starts with P, doesn't it?
Pico.
Mini Pico. There you go. Although on my quads, I do like the Rush FPV cherry antennas. I find those are really good.
This guy with the tube and wait, there you are.
Oh yeah,
cool.
What, the matchstick is it, or
little match? I think that's the matchstick. Yeah, it's the matchstick with a tube, and there's also a matchstick with an SMA, and that's meant to be really tough because instead of a plastic tube, they've got actually no, that's not the carbon fiber one. That's just the tube, but they do one with like a carbon fiber element here. This is the flexi one because I wanted it to be a light quad, but I've got one with where this is solid carbon fiber, and that's an absolute bruiser.
Back in the day, my longest flight was done with this. At the time, I had my original Dominators, so you only had one antenna, and what you had to do as it got further away is be really accurate with your head, and like you're acting like basically a tracker doing this and getting it perfect. And it always makes me laugh because I got very used to putting my head in the right location, because I see people all the time flying and they've got their heads down and they've got their patch into the ground all the time, wasting it instead of looking in the right direction.
Get a pole, get out the ground effect.
Last time I flew, I actually didn't realize my patch was, I guess it like had loosened up and it was facing the ground, and I was like, oh, well, that's why I wasn't getting the greatest video right in front of me.
Yeah, it happens. But yeah, Audio Geek, definitely tune in next week, and hopefully you'll have Menace on and you can pick his brain.
Audio Geek, do you fly analog or digital? What is your requirement? I mean, for the most part, I just stick a couple of Omnis on the goggles these days.
Analog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get on better with the Invader patch than the Pico because it's a bit wider. Personally, so I'm not so disciplined on the pointing your head the right way.
I have to say,
just
the most
long
reason I use the
antennas that are not
Pico
near my head
is because it fits in my goggle case along with everything else. But yeah, I'm pretty good at putting my head in the right place, even to the point that I will if I know I've flown over there, I will rotate a bit just to make sure I've got the best picture.
It always feels so weird though when you're flying, you're standing up, you're trying to like, okay, I got to turn, but I have to use my legs while I'm still flying, and it feels so strange. I find trying to like.
Tony was here, you'd have to just fall.
Do you
out
fly
of his
in
chair
front
and
of
start
yourself
rolling.
and like turn until you see yourself facing the right direction, and then like set off in that direction? I sometimes do that.
I usually set up so that where I'm flying out, I'm already facing. But I don't know. It's always a little different. But
I like fly in front of myself and be like, is my head actually lifted up? And then I'll just try and like freeze in that position and fly out.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see what batteries are in and out of stock. It's interesting. Do you go to 5S? Who knows?
So my solution for not tipping my head forward is to have one on me that way and one on me that way. And I figured, like, I'm covered, right? I could just say, it's all right. Oh, good.
That's a workaround. A workaround for like insufficient head holding up. It's not really what it should be.
Jack, you're looking at 5S batteries, or?
Oh, just look.
6S, Jack. The year is 2022. It's 6S. That's the correct battery to buy.
4S.
I can do, but
7S.
it means changing
8S.
all my KV.
0.5S.
I think we should just use prime numbers for batteries in terms of cell counts for fun. Stephen, you must have used a 7S quad. You're strange.
That's one where I have
like 5.5-inch quads and
almost everywhere
5S.
else. I'm building a 10S. I've got an 8S, but no 7s. 5s, yes. 6s, no 7s.
No 1/8S builds in there, Stephen. 1/8.
Yeah, I've got an 8S. That's why I've got the Cine Lifter motors on 1250 kV. I figure with a bit of extra stator volume, they'll be able to take the power without pooping out.
and be cinematic, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, right.
Hollywood.
We'll see.
That's it. Well, that is all we have got time for. This show is sponsored by our lovely Patreons. Without them, we would not be impartial and be able to say, "Oh God, we love you guys."
But
like,
make sure you hit the like button because
Make us sell you mattresses. We don't want to do that. We don't want to sell you meal boxes. We don't want to sell you home insurance policies. We don't want to do any of that.
Or mattresses.
You're
or
amazing
underwear.
Patreons. Yeah. Or razor kits. I mean, I can't sell you a razor kit looking like this, can I? Come on.
No, but what we really want you to do is we really want you to hit the like button because the 30 some odd people that were in here, only 10 have hit it. So go do it now before the stream's done. Show us you love us. Please. Please do it.
Click the subscribe button and the bell end icon so you never miss a
free karma. Limited time offer.
Yes. NordVPN.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh yeah, of course. Cole loves that. Oh, need we go on?
Was it 11k they're going to pay you next week for playing Raid Shadow Legends, Cole?
Cole.
You had to turn 12, them down though because you're 12. Yeah, it's just principles are too high. You wouldn't do it. See?
Yeah, no,
do it.
No.
Yeah, Raid Shadow Legends. Maybe one day for the bonus podcasts we can go through all our sponsor emails of people trying to get us to talk about their products. And then we can just rip the living shit out of them.
Well, we'll tell you everything you never wanted to know about how to optimize your website for SEO because it's just wall to wall.
Oh well, I have to show you the emails I get from people that say we love your YouTube channel and we think this will really connect with your viewers. Here is a set of knives.
You know my viewers far, far too well.
Yeah, you know them really well. It's like here's a baby chair that's perfect. They're really into that.
Make that fly. Yeah. All right.
Oh man, they risked opportunity.
Yeah.
Starting young. Get used to it.
Thank you for everyone who tuned in. We are live every Thursday at 8 p.m. till 9 p.m. UK time. If you don't know what that is, type it into Google and it will tell you. And don't forget to click the bell icon and the like button. And you have been joined by everyone's favourite Curry Kitten.
Goodbye.
The man with the moustache.
Thank you. Good night.
Stephen. The man who had to amend the thumbnail and everything. And I like what you did. I think you just created a new one and edited the date of the old one.
He's a hero.
No. I did something else. What I did was I made a new one for this one, and then I remade the next one. So.
Oh. Yeah, see, like he's getting good now. You don't even notice the changes. And yeah, don't forget, Menace is released his Kickstarter for the soldering iron, solder go. So yeah, if you want one, pledge to that, and we'll see you next week. Send us your antenna questions, and we'll see you then. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. See you guys.
Bye.
I've left.